Hi, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Bruce Singer podcast. I'm the host, and I'm Bruce Singer, the host of this podcast. And just a bit about myself is my firm does chief financial officers for part-time and contract and interim and boards. That's what we do. Very passionate about the natural food space and the health food space and the environment. Have a very special guest today, Colin Garrioch. Gary, did I pronounce it right?
Garrioch, yes. Thank you.
Garrioch, sorry, I'm getting there. Garrioch, who it's really a really interesting conversation. I'll tell you a bit about Colin. Colin is the regional director for Natural Products on Natural Products Canada, and he'll tell you more about Natural Products Canada. He's been there 5 years. He's also a Master of Science in Nutritional Science. Nutritional Science, really, and he's an advisor for Loyalist College, Center for Natural Products, and if in early in his career he was a researcher in lab. He worked in the research and lab, but he decided to make a shift towards more entrepreneurialism, and hence he joined Natural Products Canada. So, Colin, welcome. Oh, by the way, he's also an avid snowboarder and a mountain biker. I'm sure got that. We're live, so we're doing this. Okay. Thank Colin. It's a pleasure to have you, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Bruce. Thank you very much for having me. I very much appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Super. So let's start by Shane. What is Natural Products Canada? Let's start with that.
Sure. So, at the highest of levels, Natural Products Canada is a not-for-profit organization that has a national scope to help grow the Canadian natural product ecosystem. One of the most common questions we get is how do you define a natural product, or what is a natural product? Because people have different things that come to their mind.
It's
So
true.
for us, first of all, it starts with a biological molecule, but it expands much beyond human health. So the way I think about the categories where we are active, it's very easy if you think about healthy people, healthy plants, healthy animals, healthy planets. So we work everywhere from better for you food and beverage and snacking through to biopesticides, bioplastics, that whole range of products, both B2B and B2C.
Cool. Okay, and you said you're a not-for-profit organization. Okay.
Yes, so we are currently funded through one of the federal government programs through ISED, which is Strategic Innovation Fund 5, and we were previously a CSER, which is a Center of Excellence for the Commercialization of
Oh,
Research.
okay. Let's talk about a few themes. I'm curious what your experiences are and what you're seeing in terms of trends in the market. What are you seeing in trends of, like, let's take innovation, for example. What are you seeing in terms of in your space trends?
I mean, so for us, the biggest trend we're focusing on across all sectors is the replacement of synthetic products or processes with natural ones to enhance not only the health of our planet, um, focus more on a drive towards sustainability, but also the health of the end user of the product, whether that be us, our cats and dogs, or some of the agricultural animals that are in our food system. So that's where we're focused. And I think entrepreneurs and scientists have been focusing and working in these areas diligently for 10, 20, maybe even 30 years. But until the past, I would say 5, maybe 10 years, there hasn't been as much of a consumer demand, or it's been a fringe demand for these types of products. But now, with new regulations and government mandates coming into place and a more knowledgeable consumer, we're seeing this trend towards consumers desiring and pulling for these products, which is enabling the commercialization of them.
Okay, so consumers are driving the demand. The
Yes,
consumer changing consumer buying habits, changing is that what you're changing consumer buying habits, changing consumer behavior? Is
that's
that what,
exactly it. So the
yeah.
consumer is more educated and wants better for themselves, their families, the planet, and that extends to the entire value chain of what they're purchasing. So they want to know where the grains in their bread came from, perhaps that it's organic, GMO free, glyphosate free, how we were generatively farmed, where those grains come from. They are really interested in that whole value chain and what the inputs were. So all of that builds to that story of the end product. So at any point in that value chain, we may be working with a company that's got a new solution to solve the problem or enhance that product in some way.
So in terms of the uh, give an example, like just to focus on an example, like because you what type of company would be in your wheelhouse, for example, in your sweet spot? What would be a sweet spot company that you would look at Natural Products Canada?
Yeah, I mean it varies. So to take that example of a loaf of bread, perhaps that end loaf of bread is organic, certified GMO free, gluten free, and free from all allergens. So then it's a healthier for you snack product. It's a CPG, so that's of interest. But because perhaps it's organic, it means that synthetic fertilizers weren't used, but instead some type of microbial fertilizer or inoculant was used, and the way in which it was processed used some type of water extraction for one of the actives versus using ethanol. So at any point, the company that produces that bread could be of interest. The company that does this novel extraction of the ingredients in the bread could be of interest. The company that created the inputs for that organic farm in the soil could be of interest. So
Interesting.
so if you take that example, it's a really good example of where we can work along the way. And also, um, perhaps they've decided that they want a package that is compostable or recyclable. Then the company who makes the packaging is also of interest.
That's I see the innovation. I see it. And you mentioned before commercialization. Expand. What is that? What does that mean to the audience when you say commercialization?
Yeah. So in my mind, commercialization is taking that new innovative product, that solution to the problem that the market is pulling for, that the consumers want, that there's demand for, and bringing it to them at scale. So in my mind, commercialization starts where innovation leaves off. So a bunch of technical and R&D work is done. The minimum viable product is finished, but now we have to figure out how can we scale this both in terms of production, so we can make a lot of it at a cost-effective way that people are willing to pay that price for. How are we going to distribute it? Does it need to be frozen? Can it be shelf stable? All those types of things. And then how are we going to sell it? How are we going to target our market? Who's going to buy it? How much are they going to pay? How much of it can we sell? Is there a real business case here that is going to generate revenue, and survive and thrive?
Okay, so let's talk about that survive and thrive. We're going to shift just on the with the investors because correct me if I understand. You work with investors because ultimately you work with private investors. Is that private investors? Is that how it works?
So the way we interact with investors is twofold. One is that we had a fund, so we had a seed stage fund that we closed in July of 2021,
Yeah.
and we've now launched a second fund called NPC Ventures that is targeting its first close in the next couple of months. So we're raising a second fund right now to focus on late seed stage Series A investments in this area. So one area where we were active was making investments ourselves, but we never invested alone, always as part of a syndicate. So it was building a network of like-minded investors that could co-invest with us, but that we could also bring deals or companies to that we maybe thought were high quality, but didn't necessarily fit with our investment thesis or criteria. So right now, our focus is on building our pipeline for ventures as well as connecting companies within our ecosystem to investors. So the value to an investor who's investing on their own versus investing perhaps in our fund as an LP is that they're getting these pre-screened investment opportunities from us with our sector expertise and knowledge, and the value to the company is that fast-tracked introduction to the investor who we know has interest because the investor is getting a bunch of emails every day from people looking for investment. They don't know who to, which ones are legitimate, which ones are not. They may get ignored. So when they get a direct introduction from us, it sort of speeds that process along. So companies can receive investment faster, and investors can have a better investment pipeline and hopefully better returns at the back end.
Can you describe in terms of the investors you work with, what what turns them on under the current state of affairs, where we are in the market? What's going to turn them on, and maybe you could turn them on now and in the near future. What's turning them on?
Um, I mean, turning them on in terms of sector, I think they sort of have that sector focus based on their professional expertise. Very rarely do you see people investing in this sector because they were successful in building a computer hardware company doing microchips or something. So in general,
Mm.
they've been successful in one way or another in the natural product sector. They've become wealthy and they want to become successful again. They are entrepreneurs at heart and passionately, but also they want to give back because somebody helped them along the way and gave them a hand up. So that's what they're doing. So they're looking for passionate investors with an innovative product where they can see a big return that's aligned with their skill set and knowledge.
Okay. So when do they want it typically when you say aligned to their skill set, does the investor typically it's more than just writing a check? It sounds like it. They want to get involved, be on the board. Is that typically how it's
Generally, most of the investors we work with, if they don't think they can add value beyond their check, they're probably not going to
okay?
participate
Now I got it.
in the
Okay.
round. They
Okay.
don't necessarily need to be on the board. I think they would like to see excellent governance in the company that they invest in. They absolutely would like their company that they're investing into have a board, but I don't think they need to be on the board, but there needs to be a representative of the investors on that board.
Okay. There needs to it sounds like there needs to be some, like you said, some like there's some cohesiveness that there is
Yeah.
like maybe there's a skill, maybe the investor, I'm just asking, the investor
Yeah.
might have all these relationships with all these retailers. I'm just giving an example, right? All these supply chains that the entrepreneur maybe doesn't have. So they become synergetic. Am I marking up the right tree here? They become like synergy. I'm just giving an example where they could be involved. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. I mean, I
But
think it really comes back to that whole concept of multiplying the investment dollars versus it being additive, right? You can grow faster by multiplication, and a lot of them will form loose groups together. So, for example, there's a few in our network that we know that one of them founded and started a successful CPG company that ultimately went public and they exited. But some of their friends founded a distribution company, a brokerage that they then exited. So now they've all have experience in the industry. They've got some also when they find a company that they believe that their network can accelerate and grow and their knowledge can grow, they'll happily write a check and
see,
become
that's
involved.
good. See, that's really good. That's really good. Okay, so now so you mentioned earlier too that you well, I use the word vet. I'm an accountant, by the way. Okay, I'm very yeah, that's my background. You give referrals to the investors, because you've done some sort of due diligence, or you don't want to waste their time. Obviously,
Right.
you've done your part, and you say, look, we believe this is a quality opportunity. That's what I'm thinking, right? You've done your part. They
Yeah. I mean, I think when we make the introductions, it's
yeah.
this is a company that's aligned with your investment criteria and
Okay,
thesis.
okay,
You should definitely continue on and do your own diligence. But in general, we've asked a lot of questions to these companies and spent a lot of time with them, not only because we want to make sure that they're maybe investable companies for the investors in our network, but also because the questions we ask are going to help us understand the company better, which will allow us to provide better advice, better resources, better connections to help them,
okay,
one, maybe identify challenges they didn't know they were facing, or if they're missing a step. So it helps us build stronger companies and advise them better. So the goal is always to build a stronger company or entity. And we do that through questions. And along the way, that
I
provides
got
us
it.
with our diligence to
Okay.
be able to answer the questions.
So I want to ask you a question. So let's say we have a potential founder or an entrepreneur. They want to approach you. What are the common, I don't know if the word is pitfalls, but usually common pieces of advice that you can give, say, to have their ducks in order, maybe before they approach you? What are the most common things that you see in the market where these are like the must, like make sure you have these things ready to basically because you want to save time. And is there most common things that a readiness to get ready to approach you?
Yeah, I think the first one is to know your business very well because
Yep.
myself and people like me and people on our team are going to ask you a lot of questions, whether it relates to how the product was developed, how it's manufactured, its cost structure, the projections, all those types of things. We're going to ask you those questions so we can better understand your business, so we can best help you. If you don't have those answers, that's not going to lead to the best use of our time together. The next thing is spend a little time doing some homework on our organization on the organization you're speaking to in general and the person you're speaking to. So when you're talking to them, you've got some good questions for them, but also think about how you best like them to help you, whether it's from a financial perspective or a non-financial perspective or both, because a lot of times when I'm speaking with a company, they generally don't know what they're looking for. They're just calling saying, "Hey, I'm just wondering how you could help." And that's a very open-ended
Yeah.
question that I'd like to be very specific in providing valuable ideas, and as do other people like myself who work at IRAP or other organizations. So having a sense of, here's where I need help, and I looked at your website, and here's how I think we could do it. Let's talk about that.
Cool, cool, cool. You mentioned I caught on, you mentioned about numbers.
Yes.
Most people present the numbers that you need to know. Does it really work, or like
I
let's
mean, yeah, I think in initial conversations, you never need to get down to the nitty gritty, confidential numbers. We need to have a sense that um, if you're pre-revenue, perhaps it's just looking at what your projections are in a general level, when you think you might be EBITDA positive, what your gross margins might be within a range, that type of thing. Once you're post-revenue, looking at the numbers a little more granularly is important because you need to assess the health of your business. How are you going to make decisions? What metrics should you be using to make those decisions? Because there's a million financial metrics. So
sure, yeah.
which ones are important to you for the decisions of your business, but perhaps more importantly, what are investors most interested in, what you share, when you share them, and they are all interconnected in some way or other, right? From the basic day-to-day bookkeeping through to your projections, through a P&L statement, all those types of things.
So when someone approaches you, is it typically by phone, or they send you a one pager? Does these things work? Do these things make a difference? Like, does it?
Yeah, I mean, so we do get emails, we get phone calls, we get inquiries from our website, we get referrals from other organizations.
Okay,
It is helpful to provide a little bit of background ahead of time because I'll always do homework and reading because I want to be best prepared for that call.
got it,
So if
got
you
it,
send
got it.
me a one pager or a brief deck or something, I will always take a look at that.
Okay, so let's talk about your organization, Natural
Sure.
Products. So let's say I am a potential. I'm a potential person that wants to contact your company, and I have a great product, and I have a great. I mean, at least I think I do. We all think we do, right? We all think
Yeah.
we got the next, the next. I get that. You know, um, how does natural? What does natural products do for me? And how do you differentiate yourself in the marketplace? Tell us about that.
Yeah. I think because at the highest level, our objective is to help grow the Canadian natural product ecosystem. We're unbiased. So our goal is to achieve growth, to generate great, strong companies, a vibrant, lush ecosystem. So there's unbiased. And then the value through connecting to us is one, our network. So one of the ways we help companies is through our innovation cluster, which is a stakeholder membership-based group that comprises startups and SMEs, multinationals, research institutes, investors, and what we call innovation support members, which are companies and organizations that can help uh, startups and SMEs and entrepreneurs along their pathway. So within that cluster, we provide advisory services, we provide educational meetings and sessions, and we provide tailored networking and introductions to really grow that ecosystem. So our network is national in its scope. So it's quite vast. So that's another reason people connect with us. And then the other reason is sector expertise and capital. So the bulk of our team has either probably three or four of our team members have founded companies previously in their past life, or we've worked in startups, but we've all come from industry with at least 10 to 15 years of sector specific experience in different sectors. So you have the sector expertise.
Well,
And then we would blend it with capital. So the other two ways we help companies outside of the innovation cluster is through our innovation or our commercialization programs, which provide non-dilutive, non-repayable capital for up to 40% of project costs related. There's three separate programs. There's more information on the website, but one is related to research and development, so clinical trials, scaling of processes. The other is related to hiring technical talent for new product development and innovation. And the third is meant to help enhance or create elements of a commercialization plan. So we can provide non-dilutive, non-repayable capital there. And then, of course, the investment funds that I discussed earlier. So we are between funds right now, but we do have an investment fund. So it's the blend of knowledge plus capital.
that's tremendous. So really, you're doing everything you can as a financial partner and as a business part to help that entrepreneur, that business succeed. You know, it's that whole ecosystem that you were talking, the whole ecosystem you're talking about. It's really a tremendous service. Tremendous.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
It's a service. It's a service. Tremendous service. Okay, so what's next for okay, so how do people get what's the best way to get a hold of you? How do people can if they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're a national organization. So there's
Yeah.
people like me in each geographic region across the country from British Columbia through to Atlantic Canada. So if they were to go to naturalproducts.com and look up their regional director for their specific region, our email addresses and phone numbers are right there. They can absolutely send us an email or give us a call. There's also some general information email addresses there for our commercialization programs or membership or other things where they can make general inquiries. And if they're not sure who to do, send it to, that will come internally and get routed
Okay.
to somebody internally within, 1 or 2 business days, and we'll be in touch.
And Colin, your space is all of Ontario,
Yes.
specifically, which is the space most common that I work in, to
Yes.
Ontario. And so where you're, and also just you're coming up to what, like in the near future, you're going to be at things like CHFA now. You're doing what are you doing at CHFA now in September?
Yeah, so we're very excited about CHFA now in September. For the past, I would say 3 or 4 years, we've always been involved with the launch pad portion of the show, which is the award for the newest innovative product being launched this year. So our CEO, Shelley King, sits on the panel for that. But this year, we've expanded our activity there in that we are sponsoring booths for 15 companies to be an incubator alley. So incubator alley is where new and emerging brands are located. It's a specific area of the trade show. And there are specific criteria for the companies that exhibit there that are set out by CHFA. So we have sponsored 15 companies that we work
Wow,
with to
good
be
for
able to
you.
meet their capacity. And we'll have a booth in the section as well. So if people are going to be at the show, please feel free to stop by and say hi.
That's great.
I'll be
That's
at
a
the
great
booth,
way.
so will my colleagues. The other thing that we're doing for the first time ever is co-locating the Nutrition Capital Network event with CHFA. So Nutrition Capital Network is a division of New Hope Media, which runs Expo West, Supply Side West. And it's an event that has cornerstone investors as their members from large multinational venture corporations, family offices, venture groups that want to be in the room up to 5 times a year with companies in this space, the natural product, healthy eating, functional food and beverage, natural health product, dietary supplement area. And so this is the 6th year we've run the show. It has been both in person and virtual, but this is the first
Wow.
time we're co-locating it with CHFA, which we're very excited for. So we're bringing in our investors, CHFA's cornerstone investors, as well as these companies. So people will have the opportunity to both, if they are an investor or a company pitching, to
Wow.
attend the Nutrition Capital Network and CHFA in one event.
That is tremendous. Well, I'm going to be there.
That would be great.
I'm going to. I'll meet you in. I'll meet you in. We met virtually a few times. You know what
Yes,
I
I'm
mean?
looking forward to that.
That's weird. And I'll be there. I'll be there, and I'll be there every day. That's
Fantastic.
wonderful. Colin, this has been. Is there? We're coming to an end. This has been very insightful, and thank you so much for being my guest. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful. Before we end, is there anything else that I didn't ask that you think is important that we should have covered? That you can think of that is of anything else?
Uh, I think we had a great conversation.
Very
Thank you
good.
very much for the platform, the ability to speak with your audience. I
Thank
think
you.
the only thing I would leave them with is don't be afraid to reach out to myself or anybody else, organization like us, and ask for advice.
That's really good. Because
Reach
some
out,
people,
ask the questions.
because some people are afraid. Well, you know how it is with people. I was an entrepreneur. Well, they get, you know how it is with some people, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to. Sometimes the fear of getting rejected, and you're coming at it from a much different perspective. Like if like I want to help, you're trying to help, and that's really cool. That's really cool. Thank you.
Exactly.
You never know. Anyways, have a wonderful day, Colin, and I'll see you at CHFA a couple of weeks, like a couple of weeks, 2, 3 weeks.
2 weeks, I
Later.
think. I'm looking forward to it, Bruce.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank